What it do? This your boy live and directed, full effect after 832. Y'all already know how Jimmy J Smooth do. I wanted to do a video on one of my favorite singers of all time, Shanice. She pretty much started her career back in 86/1987 with her first album, Discovery. Now, me growing up in the early, growing up as a 90s kid, getting here, she was one of the first singers I recognized outside of Whitney Houston. I wasn't that much into Mariah Carey at that particular time, but it is what it is. But when she started her music career, one of the first singles she came out with was No Half Steppin'. And me being I'll say around, 5-year-old kid, basically a baby coming out of the womb, that was one of my favorite songs. I didn't know that much about Can You Dance. I knew about I Bet She Got a Boyfriend. I remember that. My most favorite, I Love Your Smile. That was among my favorite. I Love Your Smile. And being a kid, 8-year-old, 7-year-old kid, basically, when that came out, that was the shit. But it was just so unfortunate to hear about how her career took a downward spiral. And it shows how fucked up the music industry is. It shows how fucked up the get down of the music industry. Because, Shanice, to me, and, she would blow a lot of these chicks out there in terms of voice and vocal skills and beautiful vocals. She would blow half these chicks out of the water. But I felt like what happened was she came at the wrong time. Because I think if she had came a little bit after the peak of Whitney Houston and the peak of Mariah Carey, I think she would have hit it off easily, because she was a very versatile singer. She was a very charismatic singer and had a very powerful voice behind her. I mean, wasn't too many singers in her era that could really fuck with her if push come to a shove, And I think what it was is her prime came too goddamn soon. Give me just a second. But again, I think her prime came a little bit too soon. And sometimes you can be in a singing era, because we're talking about she came right at the beginning. Her career started at the beginning of the New Jack Swing era. So a lot of the ballistic or ballad like ballad type songs were getting pretty much played out to a lot of synthesizer controlled music at that particular time. You had the exceptions, Toni Braxton, again, even though she got a strong voice, but I digress. Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, you had the Monicas come at a little bit right after her. But I think if she had came right at that time, the Aaliyahs came out. I'm talking about started out around 93, 94. I think she would have had a little bit better career, or a little bit better shaker and mover power, for lack of a better term, than she would have coming out at around 1987. Because a couple of years earlier, or 3 years earlier, you had Whitney Houston coming out. And then a year before her, I wouldn't say Janet Jackson was coming out at that time, because Janet Jackson came out in the early 80s. But the peak of Janet Jackson's career, the prime of Janet Jackson's career was percolating at that particular time. because Control album came out in 1986. So I think she came at the wrong time. That's just my personal opinion. You know. But she's a damn good singer. Push come to a shove, you gotta put her up there in that top 10, top 15. She's up there. You know, she had the voice. And still has the voice. You know, she had the smile. She wasn't trying to be the over-sexual female that came out after, came in the era of the TLCs and the Aaliyah, and no disrespect to them. You know, I fucks with TLC and those girls, but it is what it is. You know, Shanice just had the class. And one more thing, what the hell happened to the producer of her first album, Brian Loren? That nigga looked like a overweight. That dude looked like an overweight turtle up in this motherfucker with a perm. But I digress. But shout out to Shanice. Once again, this your boy, live and direct in full effect out the A3.